welcome to the StatMarket. The hosts for today are Chandan and Udit Garg. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Stat Market, and this time we are back with the part two of our previous series, which is 8 tips to pandemic proof your digital ads. Before we begin with this episode, let's quickly summarize what we had spoken about in the last episode. And to begin with, the 4 points that we discussed in the last episode, the number one is that you need to start finding the correct platform to advertise on all over again without negating any platform that might be controversial at the moment.
Exactly.
Because you never know during the entire lockdown and the work from home scenario, you don't know where your audiences are working on again or are spending their time again. So don't negate the platforms. And the second point that we had talked about is start using videos. It is very important to disrupt your audience's attention on the social media platforms and all the advertising platforms with a video, because people are watching more videos and they're paying more attention to the video content by the brands during this time. That brings us to the next point, which is streamline your ad copies to the current scenario. You need to be sympathizing and empathizing with your audience about the situation they are working in, which is the current pandemic situation. They could be either working from home or they could be minimalistically traveling to their offices. So your ad copy must speak to that scenario, right? If you're talking to students, that then you know they are kind of engaged in a lot of online education classes and online webinars. So make sure your ad copy is streamlined to your audience's situation in the current scenario. And finally, our fourth point that we discussed about is the type of videos that are working. The first type of video that is working is the raw content video, which is phone or handheld phone short videos, where you just place a phone in front of you and you record either by walking or by using a tripod and placing your phone on that. The second type of video that we saw working during this scenario is the storyboard or the whiteboard videos, where a certain feel of doodling kind of comes out, and that captures the attention of the users long enough to sell your product or your service online. Now, with that, we bring you the next 4 points that you need to make your digital ads pandemic proof and ensure that they deliver you results even in the worst scenario cases. So, with that being said, I introduced Mr. Yudi Garg to take us on the fifth point of the series.
Fifth point here, we want to discuss about creating offers. Now, when you are running advertisements, it's very important that you give out something to your users or to your, prospective customers, because everybody likes a trial, everybody likes a demo, and that's what we are going to keep in mind over here. No matter if you have a digital product, if you have a print product, if you have an offline product, it doesn't matter anymore, because uh, still it is like human psychology that we want to still have the feel of the product before we
Yeah.
decide to purchase it. And continuing that trend, during the COVID-19 and post COVID-19, because already Unlock 1.0 in India is going on. So,
Mhm.
keeping those things in mind, and malls will be open soon and all of that. So, digital marketing will play a very different role and a very big role, and perspectively. And here we want to discuss a few industries that have been using these new strategies, and you should also implement these in your campaigns, in your advertisements. So the idea basically is to generate users, increase user engagement, and you can do that very easily by giving free stuff. And when I say free, it definitely does not mean that you give the whole product for free. It's like you give out a small piece of it for free. And this is where I want to discuss the first industry, and that is the e-commerce industry. So in the e-commerce industry, we have seen huge discounts on the product. We have seen um, delivery after lockdown opens up. We have seen different offers that have been going on. We have seen buy one get one, and BOGOs are really big right now. So in e-commerce, we have gone through that phase during the lockdown, but now coming to post COVID-19 scenario, uh, we are going to see much different scenarios overall, in terms of what kind of offers these guys are going to give out, because shops are opening up, supermarkets are opening up. So definitely the e-commerce sector, which the whole user capture that it did during the COVID-19 lockdown, uh, e-commerce sector would want to retain it. And to do so, it needs to come up with really good strategies. For example, contactless strategy. I have been going through a lot of apps, and especially food delivery applications. They have started out this campaign of contactless deliveries, where like there is actually no contact between the food and whoever is handling the product, the food. So sorry, keeping that in mind, then we come on to the next industry, which is the digital products, especially in terms of collaboration tools. So for example, Chandan and I, we are using Zencaster to record our audios, and in non-COVID situations, this product, under its free subscription, gives out a limited amount of hours that you can record, and some of the services and number of users that you can have, all these things. But during the COVID-19, we have seen a shift. For example, Zencaster is giving out uh, like unlimited minutes of recording during the COVID-19 period, and other small things, and that really make a difference for the users, because we are using that product, so we really understand what those small things mean. And you can do the same thing. Another example I'll give you is, recently we were checking out Mailchimp for one of our customer, and we were about to cancel the subscription for him because it's quite expensive, the premium features, especially if you are not using the service at all. So while going for the cancellation, we got a pop-up saying, during the COVID-19 lockdown, we understand that you are having cash flow crunch, so we are going to extend the deadline for another 3 months. So basically, it gave away premium subscription to us for another 3 months. And that, I think that also is a very good way of retaining the customers, and that's what we were discussing before. Now, Chandan, if I remember correctly, marketing young, and particularly you guys are into uh, educational products. So what is going on over there?
Right. So when we talk about offers, you are absolutely, correct, Yuri. Where we need to kind of align our offers, whichever product or service that you're selling. If you are having an offer associated with it, then it must be aligned to make the people's lives easier, right? And that's the same, and that's applicable to every industry. And just like how you mentioned in the e-commerce industry and in the collaboration tool industry, we are not doing anything different in the education industry other than making the students' lives easier, right? And in fact, we did a campaign in April itself when the lockdown was actually starting out, right? And we did something like an online virtual fair. And the offer that we gave out there is that we made the registration to the virtual fair completely free,
Okay.
and there was not a minimum cost attached to it. And I think this kind of offer was also running with different other brands. Like for example, Byju's, they did a great job by making the access to all of their classes and all of their apps completely free for almost about 1 to 2 months. And that led them to kind of grow more by at least more than 150%. I do not know the exact number,
Okay.
but that's what they did. And that's exactly what happened, what we have done in the education industry in marketing young, where any client that we run the ads for, we make sure that we are inviting them for a free online demo, or we are giving away a free webinar class or a free online class, right? And after that, they can be convinced over emails and SMSs and one-on-one counseling to actually go ahead and purchase the product or the service being sold by the client.
Right.
The next industry, right? The next industry that we deal with is the real estate industry. And what we have seen with most of the brands that are involved in real estate, what they are doing is, especially there are two things that they are doing. The number one is that they are starting to give some amount of discount so that the people who had the dream of buying a home 2 to 3 months before the entire lockdown scenario happened, they can still come ahead and they can make the purchase. The second thing that the real estate industry is doing is that they are kind of onboarding virtual tours, right?
Okay.
Uh, as in many countries, and I'm sure you would be aware of this. In many countries and in many states, people are still afraid to go out and interact with places or with people, even, right? So all the site walk-ins that used to happen before, that has reduced significantly over the last 2 months. So just to kind of replace that footfalls, the physical footfalls, what most of the real estate brands are doing now is that they have introduced virtual walkthroughs. And this happens through either a software, a link which is sent out, or it kind of happens through just an app on your phone. So I have seen a lot of real estate folks doing this, and I guess, and I'm not just guess, right? I'm sure that it is working. For one of our clients who is into the real estate industry, we are using discounts as the honey pot, as we call it in our marketing terms, to invite the footfalls into the and footfalls and traffic into the client's property, and that seems to be working now, and people are actually showing interest and they are going forward and viewing the property and buying as well. So that's what is happening in the education and the real estate industry, uh, the
Okay.
next.
So
Yeah,
I think, to close this off, I think
yeah.
that's a very nice way, to really bring in the footfall,
Mhm.
digital footfall to these two industries. And guys, I this is what we want to discuss actually, that you have to be innovative in your approach now. You have to come up with ways to increase awareness
Yeah.
with the people, because people are afraid to
Mhm.
basically have that touch and feel anymore. So you
Yes,
still have to give them that touch and feel without the touch and feel. So you really have, the content makers, the creative designers, and the marketers, the campaigners. You guys really have to put it up with new and innovative ways, and a simple copy and paste. I don't think that is going to work anymore.
absolutely, Yuri. Absolutely. You're absolutely right there. And especially when you're creating your offers, make sure your offer does one thing, which is making people's lives easier in this
Right.
particular scenario.
Right.
And it helps them to kind of jump over the mind block that they might have to actually visit somewhere physically and take some action. So make
Correct.
sure your offer kind of moves them across that one showstopper, right?
Right.
With that, let's move on to our next point, which is about ad scheduling, right? Now, I understand that a lot of marketers and a lot of advertisers use optimization of ad scheduling to reduce their costs of the ads, and I'm sure it works, right? It has worked in the past, but in the last 2 months, people you have to understand that the sleep cycle and or the interaction pattern of almost everyone has changed, and this creates a big effect on the ad schedule as well, which means now you need to be, willing to discard your previous ad schedule data and then collect data all over again. If you have been running ads in the last 2 months, then I hope those ads were not running on a specific ad schedule. If they were, then you kind of should put in some amount of budget into testing a new ad schedule. Because what we have observed is that with some of our clients, in fact, in the industry of online education or foreign education, we have gotten conversions at even 3 a.m. in the night. Previously, our ad schedule optimization used to be like we need to shut off the ads or the impressions by 1 a.m. When the pandemic started, the first thing that we did was that we discarded the ad schedule completely, and we started the ads with complete 24-hour ad viewing, right? Now, of course, the costs maybe went up by a rupee or two.
Right.
In fact, not much of a difference, but that also gave us in the last 2 months. It gave us enough significant data to understand the new ad schedules in which our audience is interacting. And let me tell you, it differs by a minimum 65%, and that's a lot, guys. So make sure if you are using the ad scheduling kind of method to reduce the costs of your ad, then you might want to start a new set of ads where you test out the new ad schedules and understand what are the new times that your audience is, kind of converting, right? And with that being said, UD, let's move on to the seventh point. What do you say?
So before we move on to the seventh point, here I wanna discuss something that I think Chandan would agree is so in various platforms, including Insta and LinkedIn and Facebook, I have been coming across some of the digital marketers who are still basically distributing the previous ad schedules, like the previous
Right,
design schedules. And I
right.
think the new wave of marketers needs to be very wary of this thing, and
Mhm.
do not take it by heart, because as Chandan said, uh, you know the whole schedule of users have changed. The sleep patterns
Yeah,
have changed.
yeah.
The time they used to spend interacting with their phones and their digital devices have changed.
Mhm.
The TV viewing times have changed. Everything, basically, in terms of technology, has changed when it comes to the user perspective, and we need
Right.
to be very careful when we are, coming up or thinking of using previous schedules or previous patterns, because they might not be viable anymore. As Chandan forced on that minimum 65% of time change has been seen in the consumer behavior, and you guys need to put it very clearly that uh, when you are running advertisements or something, you need to be very careful. And I'll give you an example of this, Chandan.
Mhm.
You remember a few days back when we were basically doing marketing for uh, the webinar, the
Mhm.
future of data analytics.
Right.
You and I had a discussion where I said that I'm going to post about it on LinkedIn at night because I get better engagement at night.
Right, right, right.
So
Hmm.
that was after going through a post of series where I saw that, okay, if I post during the daytime, I'm not getting any engagements or
Yeah, yeah.
views, but at night my engagements in posts just go up and they bloom pretty nicely.
Yeah, I remember. In fact, I disagreed to that and said, that
Exactly.
might not work, and we should post it in the daytime. But that's where we kind of I was proved wrong. And in fact, Yudi had more engagement on his post than I had on mine, which was posted during the daytime. So that was a great sort of mini test that kind of made a revelation that yes, ad schedules, even in terms of organic engagement, has changed.
Changed,
So
exactly.
your standard posting time, like if you had a time like, okay, you know what, Instagram post at 10 a.m. or on LinkedIn post at 3 p.m., you might want to revisit that and take a relook
Right.
at that and retest the ad schedules, just to understand if your audience is staying on the same ad schedule or has moved on to a new ad schedule. So that is very important, guys.
Now, coming to the seventh point of the discussion, that is brand value. And here, during the COVID-19, we saw a lot of big and even smaller brands really pushing towards brand value, and I think what they were doing was great because it worked out for them, and it could work out for you guys too, because either it may be an individualistic brand value or it could be a organization's brand value. It's very important that you build it up, and this is the perfect
Yeah,
time because more users are online, more users are consuming content. So this could not be a better time for that, like to really create a fan following, a user following for yourself. I think this is the best time for that. And Chandan, I think there I have noticed something. So I
yeah.
am not a big television viewer, so for
Right,
many
right.
years I stopped watching television. And recently I was just sitting with my parents, and I was just looking at the television with them. And I was looking at the advertisements and the kind of advertisements the people, the brands are running, and it's quite
Mhm.
intriguing because now, before, what used to happen was brands wanted me everywhere,
Right,
and
right,
that
right.
is not the case anymore. They are like, "Yeah, okay, dude, if you don't want to use my product, that's okay, I
Mhm.
don't care, but you need to be safe. I want you to
Absolutely.
be safe, because
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if you use my product, or or somebody else's product, I'm okay with it as long as you are safe." And
Yeah.
that kind of, that is what I call like a very abruptive approach towards doing marketing. And plus, this is also kind of a CSR project that this brand was basically doing, and I've seen a
Mhm.
lot of brands doing such things. And definitely, putting your money into CSR through marketing, I think that's a great way, because you get benefit out of getting subsidies. So uh,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
so even if I put it aside, the idea was to basically create trust. So when I say that use my product or use anybody's product, basically I'm saying that it's not about me anymore, it's about you.
Mhm.
and
Absolutely. Yeah.
and that kind of in the back of the brain of the user or the viewer, it creates this mindset that, okay, this brand really cares about us. It does not
Yeah.
matter if we buy its product or not,
Mhm.
but it matters to it that we are safe. So that kind of a psychological hack, basically what I would like to call,
Mhm.
really works well. And brands like these, they have really created a lot of brand value during this time. And the real effects of this brand value optimization, I would say,
Mhm.
would really will be seen in effect during the unlock 1.0, when people will be really going out and buying products, and they will be
Right.
wanting to try out products for which the brand value went up. But
Yeah.
should we say that this is it? No, like, I think this is just the beginning of this opportunity. I think there's still almost so I don't think brand value ever gets out of fashion, first of all.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yes, when we talk about getting the golden hen, I think
Mhm.
you guys still have almost 3 to 4 months where the golden hen is still giving the golden eggs.
Right.
Okay,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
uh, really, it is the high time when you guys can just go out and really work on your brand value, really come up with content that talks about benefiting the users. And I think uh, the idea is to basically do goodwill projects, or basically it's like a indirect sales.
Mhm.
And I really believe that this is going to be really fruitful in the long run rather than short run. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
so I think people really need to think about this. The young marketers and the entrepreneurs really need to think about this and come up with different ways to engage users in more innovative ways. So I think this is where I want to end my discussion topic. And now Chandan, what do you think? What do you want to discuss about in the point 8?
Right. So before I jump onto the point number 8, I want to just reiterate what you said, UD. So anyone, if you're a marketer or a entrepreneur working, in a big industry space, and if you're handling a big budget firm, or you're in an industry that hasn't kind of reflected its ROIs due to the entire lockdown scenario, then do what UD suggested. That is, do marketing in the form of CSR activities. Of course, it's for a good reason, but it will, while you do that, it will also create a resonance towards your brand, and people will remember your brand. So
Exactly.
it doesn't mean that if you are not making profits, then you should not be investing into any marketing activities. You can definitely invest into marketing activities. In fact, when I talk about CSR, you might have observed in the last 2 months, a lot of NGOs came forward and they started advertising about giving meals to the immigrants, giving meals to the pets, and all of these things, right? So this is where the entire NGO industry kind of came forward and took a step forward in getting recognized by people, and this
Yes.
was a big step. And if you are into any kind of multinational space, or if you're into a big industry space, this is the kind of marketing that you need to be looking at during a COVID scenario, or even any other pandemic scenario, right? And this will, trust me, this will give you a lot of brand recognition, which will work in the long term. Now, that being said, let us move on to the eighth point, which is about ad spaces. Now, why are we talking about ad spaces? The number one reason is that most of the companies which used to spend a lot of money on the physical billboards, or the kind of like brochures, or a lot of physical properties, right? A lot of physical ad spaces that you find on a traffic signal or on a pavement, those kind of things. That those kind of investments no longer make sense at the moment. So how do you replace that? I'm not saying that you should not be spending on these physical properties anymore, but I am sure 60% of your budget is well spent if you move to the digital scenario. Now, you might already have a dedicated budget for your digital scenario, and you might be using different tools, different platforms to go and put out your ads. Now, what are you going to do with this additional 60% of your physical ad spaces? You can use these to go ahead and get more ad impressions, more ad spaces on different platforms and different publishers. That is the number one thing. For example, the alternative of Google AdWords, one of the other alternatives of Google AdWords is a platform called AdRoll, right? You could be
Right.
spending your impressions or your ad money on this platform. So this is a great time to test these platforms, which gives you an extended region of ad networks, right? And there are more platforms which gives you an extended publisher network. If you go and search out for the right network for your space, then I'm sure you will find a lot of them which will be amazingly profitable to you. The second thing that you might want to be doing with that 60% of additional budget is try and test programmatic ads. Nothing beats putting money on AI in 2020, especially, right? And that is what you should be doing with programmatic ads. This is the best time to get that extra share of money and put it into programmatic ads, and test how the results are driven when all of your ad networks are synced up synced up with each other and they're talking to each other. This means that there is better communication and better coordination between your ad platforms with the help of programmatic ads, right? And the users can finally see ads exactly when they need to see it and
Right.
exactly where they need to see it. And guys, I'm going to tell you that this would be a very, very significant addition to your marketing tools or marketing softwares. So that with that we finished our 8 tips to pandemic proof your digital ads in 2020. And just to revise all of those 4 points that we discussed in this session, we started off with the first point about kind of creating offers that revolve around the current scenario, creating offers that make the lives of your audience easier. The
Easier.
next point, which is the sixth point, we talked about ad schedules. Your ad schedules need to be re-researched and make sure you're not still following your previous ad schedules. Understand organically and in the paid traffic how your audience is performing in the time zones and in the ad schedules. The seventh point that we talked about is creating brand value in the large industry spaces and in the multinational spaces. If you are, if your company or you are an employee of an industry which is currently not generating any ROI or revenues, then it is still fine. If you have a marketing budget, then you should align it and put it into CSR activities or just brand value activities and run marketing campaigns around that. Let people know what your core principles are when it comes to dealing with these kind of critical scenarios and situations. And finally, the eighth point we talked about is buying more ad spaces from different publisher networks and investing your money in trying out programmatic media buying. So let us know, guys, how and how much were these 8 tips of pandemic proofing your digital ads meant to you or helped you. And let us know if you have more suggestions in the comment section. And we would love to do another video where we talk about your suggestions that you have given us. With that being said, signing out. This is StatMarket's Chandan Das.
Sayonara, guys.